Hi everyone, this is Kim Mark from Write, Learn and Earn, and welcome to Momentum Monday. We are on week 3 of newsletters. So if you're an author, a lot of times authors know successful authors do newsletters, but it can be very scary to start. What do you put in it? How do you gain consistency? And there's a whole bunch of things that just terrify the heck out of us. I know that I was pretty scared when I started my newsletter. And so I developed a formula that helped to minimize my stress when I was doing newsletters. And it's pretty simple. The first two components are components that are relatively easy for you to replicate. And then the final component was something that was quite unique to me. So the first component that I do is I always write down something that's happened to me during the week. And for example, this particular week, I had a couple of health challenges. So the people who follow my newsletters know that my newsletter always has got some kind of life issue in it, challenges that I faced, and what I did to overcome those challenges. So this week I had a friend who had something really terrible that happened to her, and it affected me emotionally quite strongly. And I know that your mindset can affect your immune system. So I wrote about that. I wrote about the experience that I had without letting people know what my friend had gone through, but I wrote about how it affected me and how it affected my health and what I did to improve my energy levels so that I could feel stronger, that I could be more supportive towards her. Those people who know me know that I write medieval fantasy, and I have got a character in my book who is also a healer, and she works very strongly with obviously with medieval medicine, and so I tied that my experience in with a little bit about my character as well. The second component is that I put down something that I'm writing that particular week. So I would then do a little extract from my book. I am mindful of the fact that sometimes people do copy your work, they pretend that they wrote the book. So what I do is when I put in an extract of my book, I jumble around the chapters. So I won't start with chapter 1 and then go to chapter 2. I will do a paragraph from chapter 1, and then maybe I'll do a paragraph from chapter 14, so that people can get a taste for my writing, but it is not put in a sequence that is going to be easy for someone to replicate. So that's the second component that I put in, and I always make sure that those components of my newsletter are put into my website as well, because that helps me with my search engine optimization. And we will discuss the search engine optimization at a later stage, because now we're just going to be focusing on newsletters. But that's my second aspect. And then my third aspect is I usually put down something about a medieval castle, an existing medieval castle or medieval monastery, or I will put down something about art. And the reason that I do that is on my website, I had installed Google Analytics, and it showed me a little bit about the target audience. And I found that my target audience were interested in travel, they were interested in food and entertainment. And so I blend those kinds of aspects into my newsletter. Now, that's where you're going to put your own flavor into it. So, for argument's sake, one of the authors that I work with, he is a therapist. So with someone like that, you could put down a checklist on when do you think that you need to go and see a therapist. Or have another author who is a horror author, so he might put in something about the scariest movies, what their ratings were like, and something that's got to do with history for horror. I have an author who writes on spirituality. So there are different kinds of aspects that you can put that are quite unique to your genre. But I find that sticking to a formula helps to minimize my stress. I don't have to start completely from scratch saying, what am I going to write about this time? I stick to my formula. I let people know what's happened with me in the week. I put down an extract of my writing, and I put down something that's quite unique to my genre. So I hope that that helps you. I hope that you will be able to build some momentum, and that you will have a framework now that you can start working with your newsletters. This newsletter challenge will continue until next week. Next week, we will have our final component of the newsletter section. And then from February, we're going to start a completely new series. So thank you very much for watching. I would love it if you could put in the comments the kind of writer that you are. Have you started a newsletter? Haven't you started a newsletter yet? What kind of genre are you in? Are there any aspects that you are struggling with? Do you need some tips and advice on what to do with your specific genre? So thanks so much, and I look forward to tuning in with you next week. Bye for now.